Hello and welcome. Today we are diving into something that hits every single one of us at some point, that dreaded creative block. We're going to walk through 10 really practical, science-backed methods to help you smash through that wall and tap into your best ideas.
You know that feeling, right? You're just staring at a blank page, a blank canvas, or some problem that feels totally impossible, and your brain just shuts down. It's so frustrating. But what if I told you that getting stuck isn't a sign that you've failed? What if it's really just an opportunity, a signal to switch up your strategy?
So here's our game plan. First, we're going to bust a big myth about creativity that might be holding you back. Then we'll get into the good stuff, the practical methods. And we've broken them down into 3 key areas: rewiring your mindset, upgrading your habits, and of course, fueling your brain. And then we'll wrap it all up by showing you how to build your own personal toolkit that really works for you.
Okay, let's get one thing straight right off the bat. Creativity is not some kind of magic, mystical gift that's just handed out to a lucky few. Nope. All the psychological and neurological research shows that it's a skill. Think of it like a muscle. And just like any other muscle, you can train it, you can strengthen it, and you can learn how to use it whenever you need it.
All right, so how do we start training that creative muscle? Well, it all begins with your mindset. In this section, we're going to cover 4 really powerful ways you can start to rewire your brain's approach to problems and, just generating ideas in general.
So our very first method is something called divergent thinking. Now, this is the absolute cornerstone of any good brainstorm. Just for a moment, I want you to forget about finding the right answer. The goal here is just to come up with as many answers as humanly possible. Good ones, bad ones, totally weird ones, impossible ones. Just go for pure volume.
And what's really cool is seeing these 2 modes of thinking side by side. Most of our lives, right, especially in school or at work, we're stuck in convergent thinking. That's all about narrowing things down to find that one single correct solution. But real creativity, that happens when you intentionally switch into divergent mode first, to really open up all the possibilities before you even start to think about making a decision.
Now this next one, it's going to feel a little weird, a little counterintuitive, but trust me, it is incredibly powerful. Instead of wanting total, absolute freedom, try giving yourself some rules. Constraints actually force your brain to get really resourceful and find clever, unconventional ways to solve a problem.
And this is the perfect illustration of that point. Dr. Seuss wrote one of the most famous kids' books of all time, using a vocabulary of just 50 words. 50! His editor challenged him to do it, and that extreme limitation, it didn't shut down his creativity. It lit a fire under it. It forced him into that playful, iconic rhythm and rhyme that made the book a classic. Okay, our third mindset shift is to just embrace play. And this isn't about being childish, it's about cognitive flexibility. See, play lowers the stakes. It gives you permission to experiment and to fail without any real consequence. And that is often when the very best ideas decide to show up. It's exactly why innovative companies like Google have famously built playful environments right into their offices.
And finally, for mindset, let's talk about mindfulness. Our brains are, well, they're noisy places, constantly buzzing with to-do lists and worries and distractions. Mindfulness and meditation help to quiet all that noise. And by clearing out that mental clutter, you create space for those quieter, more intuitive ideas to kind of bubble up to the surface. The legendary filmmaker David Lynch is a huge proponent of this, using meditation to fuel his incredibly unique work.
So, once you've started to rewire your mindset, how do you make it stick? Well, you build habits. This next set of methods is all about creating daily practices that can make creativity an automatic part of your routine, something you don't even have to think about.
Method number 5 is super simple. Just change your environment. Our brains can get a little lazy in familiar surroundings, right? They fall into the same old thought patterns. But just moving to a new space, a coffee shop, a park, even a different room in your house, it floods your brain with new sensory input, which can spark all kinds of fresh connections. It's well known that J.K. Rowling wrote huge chunks of Harry Potter in different cafes, using that change of scenery to break out of ruts and find new creative energy.
Method 6 is all about the incredible power of just stepping away. Neuroscience has a name for this. It's called the incubation effect. When you focus really intensely on something and then you completely disengage, your subconscious mind actually keeps working on the problem in the background. This is why your best ideas often hit you in the shower or when you're out for a walk. It's not random. It's your brain making those amazing connections once you finally give it some breathing room. Next up, collaborate.
Seriously, bringing other people into your process is one of the absolute fastest ways to get unstuck. They bring their own unique experiences, their own perspectives, and that can challenge your assumptions and show you an angle that you never ever would have seen on your own. Pixar's entire creative process, for example, is built around this idea of group critiques to make their amazing films.
And our final habit is to keep an idea journal. You know how it is. Ideas are fleeting. They pop into your head and then they can vanish just as quickly. The simple act of writing them down does two things. It frees up mental space, and it creates a bank of ideas you can come back to later. Think of it less like a to-do list and more like an external hard drive for your brain, just like Leonardo da Vinci in his famous notebooks.
Okay, so we've got the right mindset, we've got the right habits, but, a creative engine still needs fuel to run. So this final set of methods is all about feeding your mind the raw materials it needs to build powerful new ideas.
At its core, creativity is really just about connecting the dots. But here's the thing, you can't connect dots that you don't have in the first place. So method 9 is about actively consuming diverse information from fields that are completely unrelated to your own. And the perfect example of this? Steve Jobs. He famously took a calligraphy class in college, which he later said was the direct inspiration for the beautiful typography that made Apple computers stand out from everything else.
And our 10th and final method, learn new skills. Think of this as mental cross-training for your brain. When you learn something totally new, doesn't matter if it's pottery or coding or a new language, your brain physically builds new neural pathways. That process is called neuroplasticity, and it literally makes your brain more flexible and better at creative problem solving across all areas of your life.
So there we go, 10 powerful methods. But listen, the key here isn't to try and do all of them at once. It's about building a personalized toolkit that you can pull from, depending on the situation, and, frankly, your own personality.
And this chart just gives you a little feel for how you might do that. If you're more of an introvert, you might get the most energy from solo activities, like journaling or mindfulness. But if you're an extrovert, you might thrive by getting out, changing your environment, or collaborating with a team. The best strategy is always going to be the one that actually works for you.
So there you have it. Creativity isn't some big mystery. It's a skill you can build with the right mindset, the right habits, and the right fuel. The only question left is, which one of these tools are you going to add to your toolkit first? Thanks for joining us.
Rise up, rise high. Let your spirit take flight. Chase the stars, never back down from the fight. We're warriors inside.